This is it. It's all been leading to this. Ready? Let's go.
Hey, welcome back to RoarTV Movie Reviews. I'm Jake Connor.
And I'm Ben Pasley.
And today we're going to review Avengers-Infinity War as promised 2 weeks ago.
But it's not going to be quick, so don't get your hopes up. Also, this one isn't directed by Joss Whedon, so it's a good movie.
Russo brothers this time.
Yep. Which, they're good. They're good.
They're really good. They also directed Civil War, I think.
Yeah.
Which both these movies both like brought in a bunch of characters and formed the story well, in my opinion.
Civil War, as important as it was, it didn't really impact me, I would say. So I didn't have high hopes, is what I'm saying. Well, I shouldn't say that, because I did have high hopes. But when the Russo brothers made Civil War, I was kind of like, this is alright. But they really hit it out of the park with Infinity War. Like, they really stepped up their game for this one, which I'm glad. This is a big deal. They couldn't, like, afford to pull their punches. They had to throw their weight around for this one.
Yeah, this is possibly the most anticipated movie of the year. I mean, so far it is.
Yeah, I'd say so. I'd say it's the most anticipated movie until Infinity War 2.
Yeah, probably. Or maybe till next Star Wars comes out.
Yeah, but I think Infinity War 2 is going to come out before that, right?
Maybe. Actually, I'd say nowadays Marvel is more popular than Star Wars.
Yeah, because, well, Star Wars has been really, good and safe. It hasn't been, like, just hitting it out the park like Marvel has. Like, Last Jedi was a good movie, and it was a solid movie, but it didn't, like, blow me away like Thor Ragnarok or, like, Infinity War.
Yeah, they give you Star Wars stories, but they don't, like, test the boundaries of what movies in our age can actually accomplish these days.
Now, okay, I want to talk a little bit about Joss Whedon. Joss Whedon is the man, or rather monster, that directed Age of Ultron, the worst Marvel movie, in my personal opinion. I did not like Age of Ultron at all. Like, it wasn't unwatchable, but it was just like, I'm seeing these characters act so weird and different and out of character. And if you watch interviews, like, tons of the actors, especially Chris Evans, Captain America, constantly complain about Joss Whedon just being like a generally just bad director, if we're going to be honest here. Now, off that topic, to the actual movie we're supposed to be reviewing. It was great.
It was terrific.
Every like problem I'd say was in the movie is just minor, just these minor itty bitty problems.
Yeah, the only problems I really have with it is his personal problems. It's not like that. It's not like it took away from the movie. It's just that I would have wanted it to go a little bit differently. There were a lot of characters in this movie, as previously mentioned, and they all didn't have like a significant moment in the movie where they were like like focused on me. This is my storyline. This is going to be touched on later. For instance, the character I feel like was snubbed the most was T'Challa, Black Panther. His role. He only had like 15 seconds of screen time. Like, he was important. Like, it was his army that was fighting the aliens, but like, he doesn't really, like, you don't see much from him personally. Mm-hmm. Like, he just doesn't do much throughout the movie, and I was like, after the success of Black Panther, I was expecting him to have a bigger role, is what I'm saying. Right. And also a few other things. With those characters not having that much screen time, you get very short amounts of screen time, and it only like plays on like one aspect of their character. Like this is where I disagree. I feel like okay, go. Okay, well, just let me express my viewpoint. But an example of what I'm trying to say is Drax from Guardians of the Galaxy. Yeah. He started out with Guardians of the Galaxy 1 having his own storyline and
how he was gonna avenge his dead family killed by Ronan, the antagonist in Guardians of the Galaxy 1 and Guardians of the Galaxy 2. He was there mainly for comic relief, and that's the same thing that happened in Infinity War. He was solely there for comic relief.
Like,
but I feel like he's gonna get more of a storyline in Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3.
that's the big thing that I feel is sort of just a facet of their character. Like, Drax, Rocket, and Groot, while they can have like deep and touching moments, they are mostly just comic relief characters, like for the most part. And that's not a bad thing as long as they're well written, interesting comic relief characters, which is what Rocket, Groot, and Drax, well, Groot to an extent, you know, he's got one line, but they're all well written, interesting, but they're comic relief. That's really what their role is. So I didn't feel Drax's role in Infinity War was like poorly done or like too comic reliefy. I feel like it was great.
And I don't disagree with that. I was just getting an example of, you know, the shortened character time that they have in Infinity War with all the characters. I would say, like, look, you know, least speaking time that we've had from a character in Infinity War is probably what was his name, War Machine or Iron Patriot. I mean, he's not that important of a character, but he had very minimal.
I think War Machine and the Falcon were tied for like Falcon almost no lines. They had very few lines. They weren't super important to the movie either. I'd say Falcon had less lines. I remember War Machine
probably
talking to Captain America a couple times. Now, as far as characters that are focused on, the characters that get the very most focus in this movie, like they're the priority characters, I'd say.
Basically the characters from the original Avengers.
No, I wouldn't say that.
Iron Man.
I would say that the characters that get the most focus in this movie are Thanos, of course, not Captain America, Doctor Strange, Iron Man, and Spider-Man.
Oh yeah,
and the Guardians. The Guardians, Iron Man, Spider-Man, and Doctor Strange like take the forefront of this movie, which I didn't expect. Like, I expected Captain America to be like a huge major part of the movie, and he was. He had a lot of screen time, but he didn't have as much as you'd think. Like, for like the mascot of the Avengers, Captain America didn't really have as much screen time as like Doctor Strange, which kind of threw me off. But it's not a complaint. It's just different. I didn't expect it.
Also, in this movie, as you mentioned, Thanos has the most screen time, I would say.
Yeah, Thanos, out of all of the characters, I'd say has the most screen time.
And it's really Thanos' movie.
Yeah,
this is the story of Thanos, like trying to gain all 6 Infinity Stones and, you know, do whatever he wants with them.
This is not to say that Thanos is the protagonist, and like, I know obviously Thanos is a villain,
not the protagonist,
but you can have a villain that is the protagonist. The protagonist is just whose viewpoint the story is told from.
Yeah.
But even though the story is told from the viewpoint of the Avengers, the story is like almost entirely focused on Thanos. Like, which is a good thing, because they made Thanos like, instead of just making Thanos this like wildly evil person for the sake of being evil, they made Thanos like an interesting 3-dimensional character with like a surprising amount of development, and like you never like are like, oh yeah, Thanos is right, but you're always just kind of on the edge of that, just like, wow, maybe Thanos isn't such a horrible person.
Yeah, Thanos had,
and then he does something terrible, and it's like, yeah, never mind.
Thanos has his own viewpoints and his own agendas, much like T'Challa from Black Panther. Like, these 2 latest Marvel villains have really hit it out.
Oh, you mean Eric?
Oh, I always get those confused. My bad.
Yeah.
Yeah. Eric Killmonger from Black Panther, and these 2.
Yeah, they're very like morally ambiguous characters. They're like kind of in the gray almost.
Yeah, you kind of want to be with them, but then again, you kind of don't want to be with them.
It's this whole thing where like, you know, they're bad. What they're doing is bad, but you can see their perspective on it. So yeah, Thanos fantastically written.
looks like the dude from Pawn Stars. Like
Rick Harrison?
It looks like Rick Harrison from Pawn Stars.
He kind of does, though. I'm not going to lie.
He really does. That brings us to another point. This is a funny movie. This is like...
Yeah, it really is.
As much as this movie is an action movie and a drama, this is a funny movie.
They hit the comedy out of the park on this one.
Yeah, this was... I'd say this is almost as funny as Thor Ragnarok. And Thor Ragnarok was the funniest Marvel movie. At least in my opinion.
Yeah. Speaking on Thor, again, Thor had a lot of screen time, too.
Yeah, Thor had a pretty significant amount. I'd say he didn't get, like... He was on the edge of being, like, a priority character.
Yeah, but actually in this movie, Thor goes on his own mission towards the beginning of the movie. And it lasts, like... I'd say like through the main time of the movie until they all meet up.
Like 3/4 of the movie is him on this mission.
And
which I will say this, the mission is for him to get a new weapon. We will not say anything past that. Like Thor's mission in this movie is to get a new weapon. But we're not going to say anything past that. We don't want to spoil like how the mission goes, what he does, like how it concludes. We don't want to do all that.
Yeah. But also, in the first 5 minutes of the movie, it opens up with Thor and his brother Loki, and you really understand why Thanos is possibly the most powerful being in this galaxy.
Yeah, because he just kind of slam dunks these fools. Like, Thor, Loki, and Hulk all go... like 3 on, well, not at the same time, but like they're all fighting Thanos and they all lose like really bad.
Thanos is very powerful in this movie.
Yeah, Thanos whoops him. Now, really? There's no really more complaints. Oh, I remember. Thor's story. He gets a new eye.
He gets a new eye after he lost it in Thor Ragnarok, which I really like that addition.
It's the stupidest thing.
It really is. I loved him with the patch because it was kind of reminiscent of his father that, that died off in Ragnarok, Odin.
Russo brothers, you were so close. You were so close to like. I see no purpose for Thor getting a new eye. Yeah, like, there's no reason for it. It's not like, oh, I can see better, now I can fight better. There's no reason for it. And it's like shoved in.
Yeah.
Like the scene like comes out of nowhere. It's over. It has no purpose except he has an eye now.
Yeah, it's not even like a biological eye. It's just a mechanical eye he put inside of his head. It's always like looking kind of the opposite direction too. It just throws.
It does at first, but then it like kind of readjusts itself. But you don't get a really good look at it.
Oh, it was just. But it kind of threw me off the rest of the Thor scenes. But
the whole thing, like, it's just Thor had his eye patch. Like, why get rid of it? There's no reason to do it. But other than that, there's no major complaints about the movie. It's well written. The score is a Marvel score, so it's.
You hate it.
It's there. It's there, it's decent, it's not going to blow your socks off. It's just the score of a Marvel movie. It's not Thor Ragnarok, it's not Black Panther, it's not Guardians of the Galaxy. It doesn't have this buck wild, blast your socks off soundtrack. It's just a decent soundtrack, it's present. But I gotta say, I'm going to give this a very specific 8.8 out of 10. Which is because... it was like almost like fantastic, but just these little itty bitty quality of life problems. So like 8.8.
I want to give it a 9.5 because I've been looking forward to this movie like ever since Black Panther, the last Marvel movie that dropped, and I really loved this movie. I loved it, and so I have to give it a 9.5 over our last movie review. What was that one?
It was a quiet place.
Yeah, that was it.
But, you know, all in all, if you like superhero movies, Marvel or DC, if you've cared about Marvel even a little bit this whole time at all, go watch this movie. This is a friggin' great movie.
It's a great movie even without like focusing on superheroes. It's just
it's just a good
well written, well produced, great movie.
All right. This is about the time when we sign off. And we are debating, well, it's not really a debate, we are talking about doing more RoarTVs during the summer, so we might be back during the summer, or we might just be back next year. Either way, thank y'all for watching, and see ya.
Later.